It's barely been a day since the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history, and Donald Trump has managed to already say something incredibly stupid. I want you guys to take a look.
Look, we have a tragedy. We're going to do, and what happened in Las Vegas is in many ways a miracle. The police department has done such an incredible job. And we'll be talking about gun laws as time goes by. But I do have to say, how quickly the police department was able to get in was really very much of a miracle. They've done an amazing job. Go ahead, John.
What happened, in many ways, is a miracle. I know that's not what you meant. I know you meant to go and say, oh, the way that everybody responded to it was absolutely a miracle. And he said that later. But holy shit, man, that did not take long. That did not take long at all. Again, how exactly is that a miracle? I'm sure he meant it was the police reaction. But seriously, don't use that word. Especially when 59 people were killed and over 500 were injured. I mean, look, go ahead and ask the families if they think that anything related to that is a miracle. Now, I said yesterday, of course, after his ridiculous teleprompter speech, which, again, it was ridiculous because it had to be a teleprompter speech, because if he goes off the teleprompter, well, then he says all sorts of nonsensical things like what you just heard. He should not do anything other than adhere to a script. Somebody should follow him around 24/7 with a script of things to say. If they do not, well, this is what happens. But look, serious though, here's a serious point. Basically, on the issue of, oh, what do we do about guns? Dismissed it. Oh, don't worry, we'll be talking about it. Really? Really, when do you plan on talking about it? He doesn't plan on talking about it. He's not going to talk about it. He's not going to talk about it. In fact, he follows that up in this clip.
We'll talk about that later. He was a sick man, a demented man. A lot of problems, I guess, and we're looking into him very, very seriously, but we're dealing with a very, very sick individual. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, wait, why are we going to look into the guy when the guy is not necessarily the major problem here? The major problem is the fact that there were many, many guns there. And these guns were legally modded to be able to shoot in an automatic fashion. And we'll get into that in a minute, but okay. So you want to talk about the shooter. Okay. Oh, fine. Okay. His record was squeaky clean. I mean, sure, yeah. You could say he absolutely was a sick person and he had a problem, right? I don't know what that problem was. But I do know the major problem with him is that he performed a terrorist attack. Now, he was perfectly legal to buy a gun. I understand that. That made him a law-abiding citizen. So he was a law-abiding citizen until then he was not. That's sort of why we need some gun control people here, okay? Now, look, he was able to amass an arsenal of weapons and modify them to be able to shoot like automatic weapons. That, of course, allowed him to shoot hundreds of rounds at the crowd below. Now, we've got to do something about that, and there are ideas floating around about banning the modifications that will allow you to be able to turn a semi-automatic rifle into an automatic rifle. Now, will he do that? No, he'll likely do the opposite, actually. And look, do you know what bill was making its way around Congress right before this happened? A bill to remove the ban on silencers. Now, that has nothing to do with this. It wouldn't have prevented this crime. But that just shows you the direction that the GOP is going. You're not going to get under any gun control measures done under the GOP and under Donald Trump. Now, that's weird because Republicans actually used to be okay with gun control. In fact, Ronald Reagan signed an assault weapons ban. Of course, nowadays, our politicians, they're bought by the gun manufacturers and the NRA, which, again, used to stand for gun safety. Now, old school NRA, I actually would have been in favor of. Like, oh yeah, teaching kids gun safety, make sure everybody, is able to treat their weapons like weapons, and shoot them carefully and make sure that nobody gets hurt and all that, and do sporting events. Wonderful, right? Well, the NRA now does not stand for that. It actually stands for the gun manufacturers and their profits. Now, if that means your kids get gunned down in a concert or even in their own school, well, that's okay, because the gun manufacturers that pay the NRA, that pay these politicians, well, they end up getting an extra buck. And likely they will actually end up getting more money. As every time this happens, you get gun sales that spike. And even now, after this happened, what was the thing that happened immediately after the Vegas attack? The stock in weapons, guns, gun manufacturers went up. People started buying more and more guns. This is literal blood money, okay? And right now, look, we've got all these bought-off members of Congress, and because of that, we're not going to see any gun control. That's where a lot of my cynicism that came out yesterday came from. Now, some of you out there in the audience, you might be like, yeah, fuck gun control, right? You'll be cheering until it happens in your town. Now, I hope it doesn't. But look, nearly 100 people die every day from gun violence. I know a lot of those are suicides. It's possible that those could be prevented as well. And we've got over 300 million guns in this country that are actually in the hands of smaller and smaller amount of people, which means you have less people hoarding more and more guns. And we also seem to have a mass shooting almost every day. So if you think that this kind of thing is not going to happen to you, the odds are not in your favor. And it's very likely that you're not going to end up getting out your gun and saving the day. That's not how things work. So we've got to actually do something about it and not just sit around and do nothing like the Republicans and Donald Trump want you to do. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.